I'm Jude, I'm a queer man in my mid-30s, and in an attempt to remind myself that life really actually is worth living, I've bought a house in the middle of nowhere and moved to the Scottish countryside.
I completely forgot my dad had these leaf grabber hand things, I'm sure that's their technical name, and combined with the giant IKEA bags, this is my most efficient leaf collecting yet. People keep telling me to get a leaf blower, but I'm actually quite enjoying raking the leaves. I'm in my mid-30s, this is what passes for a hobby these days. Lots of people ask what I did with all the blackberries I picked a couple of weeks ago. They all went into the freezer. I have about 3.5 kilos in total. Some of them will get used for jam, and the rest will get made into blackberry and apple crumbles to keep me going through the depths of winter.
I foolishly thought that I might not have that much to film this week because I have less days to work on projects as I am flying down south on Friday to officiate a friend's wedding. However, it's almost like the cottage heard that thought and has thrown several spanners into the works for things that I now have to deal with.
First up, locating the stopcock for the water supply so I can attempt to fix my newfound spluttering water problem.
A question for my fellow rural Scotland dwellers, particularly if you have oil-fired outside boilers. Is it normal to be able to smell oil around them? Because I can, and I'm not sure if I should be worried about it or not.
This fence is going to need fixing. Otherwise, these guys are going to turn from my neighbours into my lodgers. And I don't think they're that good at paying rent. In a miraculous turn of events, it took less than 5 minutes of strimming to locate the stopcock. I thought this was a good omen. I was mistaken.
I think my miraculous good luck may be short-lived. I've turned the stopcock off as far as it will go, and there is still ambient running water noise happening from this area. So we'll see.
I went to get winter tyres fitted on my car, and despite leaving the outside tap running while I was out, I still have water in my pipes.
Turning off the stopcock didn't seem to do anything. I'm probably going to get someone out to look at it at some point, because I feel like I should be able to turn my water supply off in case there is an emergency of some kind. So that's got to go on the to-do list. And my aerated water is going to have to wait for another day to be fixed, because I am all out of ideas. On the plus side, both my water butts are full because I left the hose draining into them while I was out. So that's good, I guess.
This half of an old gate has been leaning here, getting in my way for a while. I thought I'd move it so I can access the boiler easier when it gets serviced, but I'd quite like to repurpose it into something useful. It's missing the other half, but I could potentially angle grind off a bit, clean it up and use it as a trellis or a plant support. I'm taking suggestions if you have any other ideas.
Move to the countryside for a nice quiet life. That was my plan. So far it's not going too well. I'm at the point where I would really like something to go according to plan with the cottage, because it kind of feels like I am fighting tooth and nail to not make progress but just maintain the status quo, and I'm failing and I'm just going backwards. At the moment, the issues that I'm having to deal with are the problem with the water that I've inadvertently made worse by trying to fix, the smell of oil from the boiler. I am going to call someone out to hopefully get it serviced. Fingers crossed it is a tweak that can be fixed relatively easily and hopefully not too expensively, because I don't want to buy a new boiler. One, they're really expensive, and two, I want to change my heating system when I renovate, and I don't want to have to buy a new boiler now and in 2 years need to get another one, because that's thousands of pounds I would rather not spend. So water, boiler, the fence needs fixing behind the house, but hopefully that shouldn't take too long, and I might be able to get it done this afternoon, which will, fingers crossed, buoy me up for some of the other things that need doing. Also, I've spotted a handful of wasps in my kitchen over the last few days, and while 1 or 2 wasps inside doesn't really bother me, I would rather not find a wasp's nest inside my house, and I have come across quite a lot of dead wasps' nests on the property, so I know there are plenty of wasps around here. I'd like the nature to stay outside. Is that too much to ask? So I've ordered some wasp traps that I will bait with a sugar solution, and hopefully that will help. And finally, the mice. Yeah, again, I'd like the nature to just stay outside. I've ordered some humane mouse traps. Hopefully that will do the job. I'm going to bait them with peanut butter, and fingers crossed I can just set them free and they'll live outside. I know the solution is probably to get a cat. And I have been looking at shelters for cats. However, all of the local shelters won't rehome cats to a house with dogs. And I don't have a dog at the moment, but getting a dog is my priority. So it's all fun and games. None of these things are end of the world things. The water is an annoyance, especially if I'm now having the same problem with all of the taps that I was having with the kitchen tap. The wasps and the mice, that's just part of being in the countryside. The fence is something I can fix. It's just another job for the to-do list. The oil, however, has the potential to be both dangerous and expensive, which I'd rather not have to deal with. The boiler is outside, so that is slightly less scary, and also it doesn't heat my hot water, so I don't have to use the boiler until I get it serviced. I can just heat the house with the fire. And also heat the hot water with the immersion heater or the fire. But yeah, I would really like something to come up, Jude. That would be great. I was so hopeful this morning when I found my stopcock within 5 minutes. But I mean, that's clearly my good luck used up for the year.
I bought this bitumen paint back when I was putting the roof on my log store, and I didn't end up needing it. I thought I might as well coat the bottom of this old fence post in it to try and prevent rot, as this was something my neighbour recommended when I was building a fence at my last house. A post driver would be the best tool for this job, but I refuse to buy one to put in a single fence post. I have a sledgehammer, and I will make the best of it. Although this will be my 6th winter in Scotland, I've never needed winter tyres before. I asked several of my neighbours for their advice, and they all said it was worth it, especially living on a road that's likely to be treacherous in cold weather. I'm not planning on doing much driving in the snow and ice, but as I managed to get stuck in a snow-covered pothole on an industrial estate last winter, they're probably a good investment.
In a somewhat futile attempt to keep my compost warm, I've made a little lid out of some orange corrugated plastic.
Back in summer, this corner was full of long grass and waist-high weeds. Now they've started to die off, I thought I'd see if there was anything interesting buried under it all. That'll be tyres 7 and 8 for the collection. After last week's bedside table saga, I decided to test 2 different finishes, browning wax and a white toned wax oil, before committing to a decision.
I can't decide if I like how this has turned out or not. So what I'm going to do is wax the top of the other bedside table using the browning wax I tested yesterday and work out which one I like the best.
It's absolutely no contest. This is exactly what I was hoping for when I stained it the first time. You're going to have to trust me when I say it looks a lot more orange on camera than it does in person. This week marks 2 years since my lovely mum died. It feels like forever and also no time at all. She was my best friend, which I'm sure some people would say is sweet, but she'd say it was because no one else would put up with me. Love you, Mum. I wish you could see the life I'm making here. Thank you all so much for watching. See you next weekend.